Welcome back to the show. I interviewed Judge Paula Brown, currently of Civil District Court in New Orleans, about her race to be the newest judge of Louisiana's Fourth Circuit Court of Appeal. Let's hear from Judge Paula Brown. So, Judge Brown, you would like the voters for the Fourth Circuit, people who are voting for this race, to consider you and vote for you for the Court of Appeal for the state of Louisiana for the Fourth Circuit. Why don't you tell the voters, what is that court?
Okay, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it to allow me to speak to your audience. The Fourth Circuit Court of Appeal is a reviewing court. It is an appellate court. Right now, I sit on the Civil District Court, which is the court of first impression. That's where any litigant come before the court. If they are aggrieved by a decision of the district court, rather civil court, criminal court, juvenile, or domestic, they can file an appeal to the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeal, and they review the decisions of those lower courts.
Why do you believe, or what about you and your experience, your background, do you believe qualifies you for the Fourth Circuit Court appellate court, and why you over your opponent in this race?
Okay, I have vast experience. My legal experience spanned nearly 25 years. I have been on the district court for 7. I've practiced both plaintiffs and defense litigation, but more importantly, I have served as judicial law clerk at both the Civil District Court and the Louisiana Supreme Court for our current Chief Justice, Burnett Johnson. And in 2004, because of my experience, I was appointed by the Supreme Court to sit as judge pro tempore. And that's temporary judge until the election of a permanent seat, and that was Judge Paula Brown. I think my vast experience uniquely qualifies me for this position at the Supreme Court. I was charged with preparing the chief by writing opinions and writ applications, and they consisted of juvenile, civil, criminal, and domestic cases.
So your experience on the working in the Supreme Court as a law clerk to the Chief Justice, and the other experiences you described are helpful to you in what you expect your work will be if you are elected to the Court of Appeals.
Absolutely, and what I do now, you have appeared before me. On every case, no matter how big, how small, I give a reasons for judgment orally on the record to let the attorneys or litigants, if they are self-represented, why I'm doing what I'm doing. Which means that if they decide to take a writ, even the Fourth Circuit, it assists the Fourth Circuit who reviews my work in letting them know why I did what I did. So I had no idea me working so hard on the front end was preparing me for this job on the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeal if elected.
Let me ask you about, let's change gears a little bit. What about your perception of how the courts treat minorities, in particular Hispanics, on the topics of access to justice, and whether or not you believe you'll be able to have any impact or say on how minorities are treated in our court system, perhaps in the way decisions are reviewed on appeal, or if that's something that you have noticed in your legal career.
Okay. Well, the first thing, I think that's a great question. The first thing that we all should be mindful of as judges or those who are running to be judges, access to justice. And let's talk about the Hispanic community. I have had many trials in my division where Hispanics were either the plaintiff or the defendant, for that matter, or even a witness. It's imperative, and I have implemented this as well, we make sure that they're interpreters. That is the piece in order for the party to get their testimony out, for the judge to understand it. I think that's imperative, and that will be the first thing that any judge, I would think, even on a court of appeal, would look for to make sure that that party, plaintiff or defendant, had access to justice, is whether the information that they were attempting to elicit as testimony was comprehended by the judge. And the only way you can do that is with an interpreter, if that judge is not Spanish speaking.
Defined a platform for your campaign and what goals you have in general, and if you have some specific examples of what you'd like to see in the Court of Appeals, any modifications or improvements that you'd like to see in the Court of Appeals?
Well, I think I have a few goals, and my platform is such that I want to bring the zeal and the preparedness that I have right now on the district court to the Fourth Circuit. I know that there are times when the length of time and the amount of when a party is waiting on a decision may be lengthy. I would like to get there and work closely with whomever is on my panel to try to shorten that time period. I think also, as a student athlete, I'm a team player. So I know how that works, and I think that I would be able to work well with others. On the district court, we make the decisions based upon our interpretation of the law and the facts, but it's our decision. We're the judges. We don't have to play well with others. On the Fourth Circuit, we do have to play well with others, and I think that I can do that. But also, I think that on a writ, when a writ is denied, most times it says writ denied. I think that for lawyers to figure out or try to attempt to determine which way their cases should go, if they had a blurb of why the writ is denied, I think that may help the lawyers. And I think that is why it has a lot to do with why I give the lawyers reasons why I did what I did. Whether they agree with me or not, they have to say that I'm fair and impartial and based upon the reasoning. You may not agree with it, but I gave you the truth as I interpreted the law with the facts. So I would like to see that. But finally, I work in a community. I'm a public servant, the real word of a public servant. Not just a public servant being a judge on the bench, but the things that I do when I'm off the bench. And what I can tell the voters out there is I will not disappear. The things that I do in the community, I'm a mentor and big sister, and I work with closely with organizations that support the homeless youth and teach kids to read. I won't stop that work. And I think sometimes lawyers think that there's no access to judges, and litigants think that there's no access. I will be in the community, so I will still keep that work going.
I'd like you to see if you can recall a time, either as a public servant, as a judge at civil district court, or maybe before when you were a practicing attorney, where you were forced to take a controversial position or an unpopular position, and you had to deal with the reaction to that, maybe a decision on a case or something. And how did you deal with that?
Well, there is, even as a judge, I made a decision based on the law and based on the facts, but I think that there were members of the community who did not, particularly the litigant, who did not agree with that decision. As a result of that, I have been on the internet and been ridiculed, but I stand firm that I made a decision based upon the law and the facts.
You made, that's a responsibility you have as a
Absolutely.
judge, right? You have to make the decision. You make a decision and you stand by it.
Absolutely.
Sometimes people get offended, right?
Yes, and look, we have to rule based upon the law. We do, and I think sometimes when litigants are self-represented, they don't understand the law aspect of it. They really don't understand, and so they think it's personal, and it's not personal. It's not personal at all.
Yeah.
But it's hard. You know, it's hard. We as judges, we can't say anything. We can't really defend ourselves. We can't talk about the case. We can't do any of those things. So that's the hard part of this job. That's the hard part of this job.
Well, it seems like in every case, 50% are going to be winners, 50% are going to be losers.
That's true.
Just about every case.
That's true.
Okay. Well, Judge Paula Brown, this has been very helpful and interesting, and I think our viewers have a much better idea now of you and your qualifications for the post. We have to conclude. We've run out of time, but I would like you to, if you'd like, share any last thoughts or comments, anything you'd like to say to our viewers, any last thoughts or comments for them to consider when going to the voting booth March 25th.
Absolutely. First of all, I'd like to thank you again for allowing me to be on the show. And I would like your viewers, I want to ask them for their support and their vote. I am a judge for the people, and the people elected me 7 years ago, and I have been a judge for the people, all people. And even Hispanic concerns me. Any lack of access to justice for anyone concerns me. And I am asking you for your vote, and I'm asking you to vote for number 4 on the ballot, Paula Brown. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.